Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels and the Fourth World Book Club, where we are nearing the end of our journey through Jack Kirby's fantastic world. This month we looked at Mr. Miracle issues 12 to 15. Um, and I wanted to actually lead off this time because it was in issue 13. I think is the most autobiographical Jack Kirby panel ever. Um, I mean, it hit me on so many different levels. It wasn't even funny. So let me share my screen.
Hmm.
We have
Oh,
Te Ted with his head down. Um, Scott trying to console him by saying, "Hey, but you won." And Big Barda saying, forget it, put your life on automatic drive, just coast happily along. As Ted's sitting there going, it was a horrible experience. This hunted like an animal by men with dogs. I lost myself in wild, remote country and was listed as dead by the army. Uh, and this reminds me of everything I know about Jack's service, but it also it hits in terms of a lot of his comics career too, where he's striving for things and people are going, "Oh, but you're the king," or "Oh, yeah, that sucked, but just put it behind you." It's like his Jack feels like he had not only a lot of weight and burdens, but a lot of people around him that were very well meaning, but not actually um, acknowledging of the emotions that he was going through. And
wait,
it felt like it came out on this page.
I
are
mean,
you
I would
saying
agree
that
with
just putting your life on automatic drive and not thinking about your problems isn't the way to handle life?
I would say that it's not recommended, no, Sean. Do I need to call in the psychopharmacology guys? Do I need to see if we can have an emergency appearance from one of our therapists?
Hey,
although, I mean,
I
like that is coming from Barta. I mean, it's not like I think that, I like my dime store psychology of that is that, you know, I think that you're right. I think that this panel does encompass a lot of Jack's World War II experiences, but I also think that I think Jack's World War II experiences are a very interesting thing to talk about. There's a documentary that's out there called Kirby at War, um, which I found very interesting, but I also think it speaks to a lot of the weird, vaguely schizophrenic way that he dealt with his war experience. Like it obviously comes into his books a lot. Um, he obviously had things about that experience that affected him for the rest of his life, but he also was like always there with a war story, you know. He thought of it as like he had plenty of stories that he liked to share with people. But I do also think that this whole comment about automatic drive is really about living in the moment, right? And he's probably talking to people that he knew who were, you know, deeply affected by the war that couldn't let it go. I mean, and we can take that to any war experience. We can take that to Vietnam. We can take that to, and I'm not trying to belittle that at all, but
Right.
that, you know, that was an experience that happened, and now we have to live in the here and now, And I mean, yeah, it like in a way, like this book of the four that we read is probably the most interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
There were interesting parts of the other three,
right.
but yeah.
I mean, and it's Jack still got things he wants to talk about, and he's still, um, and he's still got big ideas, but a lot of these felt like just punching a clock. Um,
Really
but
quickly before I forget, I want to toss out that Kirby at War is streaming for free on Tubi. So anybody who wants to go dig into that
it used to be
should do
on,
so.
it used to be free on Prime Video too, but I don't know if
It
that's
might be
still,
there too. I just went when I saw that there was a Tubi link when I was looking it up.
yeah.
I know that they're always free.
Mhm.
So
So, so you're saying you can watch it on to be or not to be?
I mean, yeah, it is also free on Prime Video.
Uh,
So if you have a Prime
you know,
subscription.
to quote the recent Muppets show thing, I have a sharp pain in my left arm. What's that about? It's certainly not about clapping. Anyway, no, I think and I do want to say that like I think that there is this in my experience, there is this sort of as with many things involving Jack Kirby, there is this bit of a hagiographic hero worship element that comes into his war experiences. And that's again, I'm not trying to belittle him. I'm just saying that like a lot of times I read people talking about what his war experiences were, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how much is
Well, and that's why I actually specified. I don't know if it's entirely his war experience that he's specifying here, or I mean, Jack had some very legitimate
sure.
gripes and trauma from the comics industry as well.
It'll break your heart,
And in
kid.
that industry, even more so, he had a mixture of people, but you're the greatest.
Yeah.
And get over it. Nobody gets that. Just like understand the business that you're in. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, look, there is a whole
and
I
also,
think
Mark, I want to make it clear that I'm complimenting Jack's writing on this panel.
well, the words don't matter, Tad. I thought that's what we had arrived at. No. No, I I don't I don't know. I think that there is in a way this Mr. Miracle book probably like it's interesting. It's the one that survives the purge of the fourth world, you know? Um, there was a number of things I thought while I was reading these. One is that by having the main character be an entertainer, it does sort of make it possible to talk about a lot of Jack's uh, problems and feelings and desires into the book in some format. Um, it also allows us to see what he thinks about, um, because you got Ted,
Forget Ted's last name too.
I forget Ted, the son of the original Mr. Miracle.
Right.
The Ted is this hype man, sort of promotional dude. I mean that can be seen as like what he saw as the best parts. Like there's obviously no like animosity towards that character in these books, and that could be seen as what he saw as the best parts of like Stan,
Right.
you know. And maybe during the course of working on this, he started to realize like what Stan had actually brought to their partnership, you know? Um, because there certainly is this sort of idea that Ted is their partner in this whole enterprise. But, you know, um, the other thing that came to me actually just recently was, I think it's really interesting how we had that dead man guest starring thing in Forever People, which was obviously trying to goose sales, but really, like, I kind of wanted Mr. Miracle and Dead Man to work together because they were like, they're both performers, they're both, you know, carna carniacs essentially, that might have been interesting. Um, but yeah, no, like there's part of me I'm always interested in how Jack gets certain things really right and certain things not right, Like there's, this on page 13, there's the element where they have like the gallery is crawling with swastikas, which is an oddly Western symbol, but we know that the swastika is also a Indian symbol or a Native American symbol.
Right.
Uh, you know, I think it's I
Well, and for
I
that matter, before it was the German cross, it's got a long history as a cross and that's used in various Christianity type
sure.
stuff. So yeah.
But I mean,
Right.
I also thought it was really interesting how you have this guy, a former Nazi, goes into hiding, and he's like hiding in some sort of uh looks like uh Eastern Eastern, cultish sort of thing. I think it's all kind of fascinating. But it is sort of this, it's exactly what Kirby always does. He just throws all these ideas into a pot and whatever comes out comes out. Um, although
Yeah.
the big mystery of it is like, especially on page 13, like he gives the whole thing away, like in two panels. It's like, who is this guy? Oh, there's swastikas all over the place. And here's a statue that says Dafura. Okay, okay, wait a minute. Let me guess. Who is this? What's
Making
going
me think
on?
of the Donald Duck cartoon.
Yeah.
Jafura? You do not salute Jafura? Um, which if anybody wants to watch some Donald Duck anti-Nazi cartoons, they're on the internet. Since they were funded by the government, they are in the public domain. So, um, but yeah, I
I mean,
mean, for me, getting back to that panel, I think on the next page, there's a nice panel where they both have their hands on his shoulders and saying, you've got a world of friends, Ted. We'll all look after each other.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and even with that panel, what I appreciate the most, why I think it's a like dead perfect panel, is that as much as those are words that we hear a lot, and sometimes they're either hard to hear, not helpful, or sometimes even not completely like authentic from the people they're coming. The way he draws both Scott and Barta
Yeah,
make it clear that they're doing the best they can, that
right.
it's not a dismissiveness, that it's a, this shit is hard. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's like in one panel, just like a beautiful encapsulation of one of the hardest parts of human existence, which is like not just dealing with one's own trauma, but how to be helpful, how to be there for the people that you love as they deal with theirs.
sure.
Yeah.
you know. And like it struck me. I love so much Kirby
Sure.
stuff, and it struck me as I read it as like this panel here might be the greatest to me Kirby panel I've ever seen.
Sure.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
know.
no, I think that there's a um it is, how do I put this? I think that it is a real shame that this experiment that Jack was doing here with all four of these books got cut short as it did. It is a shame because I think that during the course of the books that we've read so far, he was learning how to tell stories on his own, right? And I think, and Kirbyites are going to come out with the pitchforks and everything, because like really all of his biggest and most important work was always done with a partner, right? Up until this point. And I think that, and this panel is an excellent example of it, is like to just speak the truth. It's sort of like acting, speak the truth. And, that doesn't mean like, there's an awful lot of hyperbole in these books. And I think that he learned that from Stan, and I think he was trying to emulate Stan. And this panel has virtually none. And I think that Jack would have been far more serviced if he just spoken the truth rather than trying to play this sell, sell, sell game, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
I,
that, because I mean,
I'm
yeah,
I mean, just to compare him to a contemporary, it's one of the differences between him and Eisner.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
I
Jack
think,
is most comfortable being bombastic,
yeah,
Right.
and Eisner is most comfortable being up close and personal.
Yeah. I mean, people often say, that what if, Jack had just done war comics of his war stories, allowed himself to tell those personal stories. I think then we'd have something closer to the, what is it, the Dropsy Avenue, Contract with God trilogy.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but, he either didn't want that or never got the chance to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think that that's true, but I also think that, when you talk about Eisner versus Kirby, there is, I don't know, like Kirby's art just lends itself to bombacity.
absolutely.
And I think that, but I mean, that's sort of the point that I'm making with this panel is that like even in this panel, like the body language is extreme,
Hmm.
the 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 like there's that extremity in the artwork that is really served by the honesty of the words.
Right.
And I think that Jack thought that bombastic nature was something that he had to put into the dialogue as well. And I'm like, the question I'm asking is, would Jack have been better served if it was just being plain spoken,
Oh, absolutely.
as Jack was in real life?
Oh,
People talk
absolutely.
about that all the time.
Yeah.
kind of
Uh,
hat on a hat.
I mean, almost all of our complaints about the dialogue are awkwardness that's like manufactured by trying to be cool.
Well, yeah, trying to be hip, trying to,
Yeah.
like the trying to be similar to what he had just finished doing without trying to invoke certain people. But I mean, like, I think that there was a naturalness to what his former partners did, or his former partner did with dialogue for like that was honest. Well, fuck it. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to be cute about it. the bombacity of the early Marvel stuff is Stan Lee. Like
Right.
that's the real guy. Everybody says it, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is that I think this panel we see the real Jack Kirby both in the artwork and in the dialogue. And I think
Right.
that that's where the record slips the groove on these
Right.
books, I think.
Well, and like I mean, to that end, you don't have to do a Dropsy Avenue, a contract with God to put yourself into a book. Tom King writes comics all the time
Yeah.
that are superhero comics that are very much personal comics. And I think like what this panel tells me, what this issue to a certain extent tells me, is that Jack had that in him, and for whatever reason, nobody encouraged it enough for us to see as much of it as I would have liked because I gotta wonder if I go from thinking Jack Kirby's one of the great and most influential superhero artists of all time to Jack is one of the great and most influential cartoonists of all time, if he wrote like he spoke and told his stories the way he tells his stories rather than trying to fit some other mold.
Well, I mean, I do think that one of the things like if he did sort of Kurtzman style war stories, would the artwork seem incongruous?
Yeah.
You know, like
But
Jack's
but you,
artwork is by its nature bombastic, huge, exciting.
but he doesn't have
Um,
to do war stories. He could have still done the same stories. I'm
oh
only
no, I'm
talking
not.
about changing the dialogue.
I'm not talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like at one point somebody was talking about what if Jack had just done a series of comics about his war stories. Like
Right.
I think that would be interesting, but I also wonder if the art wouldn't seem incongruous. Part of what makes Eisner so great is that his sort of cartoony yet really understated and stylized artwork that he does on like the Dropsy Avenue or even the Spirit books, uh, all sort of leads to that sort of like uh, contemplative, like in his own way, Eisner is just as evocative and just as like bombastic in his artwork as Kirby is, but there's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
different, but there's a more, I don't want to say like a more realistic. I think that's probably the best word. Like when I look at Contract with God, I realize that those are cartoony characters, but there's also something there that feels like I'm looking at real people doing real things. The thing with Kirby's artwork is that it's still genius. Don't get me wrong, but it's like we're looking at gods slamming into each other, you know? And that's when you talk about Kirby doing something like that, telling his war stories, it's it there's like it's a great mind game, but it also makes me wonder if it would have worked. Because like I also think there's the famously I've never been able to find the story, but there was the story he did about growing up in the Lower East Side, you know, and I've seen the artwork, and if you look at it, it is the most busy thing that you've ever seen in your life. Like there's, that's probably the world as he thought saw it, but it doesn't. It feels like coming at you, coming at you, coming at you. Whereas when Eisner draws stuff, he's like, come in here, come in here, come in here. You know what I'm saying? Does
Right.
that make sense? What I'm saying?
It does.
Right. Different approach.
Different approach.
Well, and also, I mean, you guys are much bigger Kirby files than I am, but I've always had a feeling about Kirby that rather than inviting you in, he is kind of putting up a wall behind the coming at you. You know, it's like offense defense. You know, it's that there are parts of this that I'm willing, able, and ready to share, and parts of it that either I'm not willing, able, or ready, or I don't believe you want to see, or something.
Right.
Something has me hold back and not. And again, it shows through sometimes. It shows through in like the thing in what
This
uh
man, this monster.
This man, this
right.
monster. Right.
I mean, it's not completely unpresent. I mean, and I think it's interesting that a lot of the times the places that it shows through are the books that are remembered by history. Um, they're the books that get talked about 50, 60 years later. And it just makes me curious as to why he didn't do more of that, you
Well,
know.
I mean, if you want my gut level reaction, why he didn't do more of that, didn't pay.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
like, look, that's like one of the things that like it's the through line of Kirby's life. I got a family. I got to
Hmm.
feed this family. That this is a job. I
Yeah.
do this job really well, but I'm going to crank out what I'm asked to crank out on a monthly basis. And it's like even
That
when
that that like totally tracks actually.
eh,
Because God knows that like editorial and um uh, particularly what's the word I'm looking for? Corporate have always had trouble understanding like the ability of making money over time rather than making money right now.
well, I mean, like, look, but like, I think you could say that about Jack himself. I mean, like, he was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do 6 books, like in Marvel, he was however many books. I'll
But
draw
I
every
think he
cover.
also understood that the industry wasn't set up for him to easily make
Well,
money over time.
no, 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 not at all. It
And
wasn't
that's
set
why
up that way at all.
he was doing what they asked for, he was doing what they told him sold, he was doing what they were willing to pay for. Um, which
But I
means that
mean,
like again, to me, I mean, it's not hard to see the brilliance of some of these books that he doesn't do as many of. So
right.
if he doesn't have people jumping up and down saying do more of this, that then the people who were in charge of making the money didn't have particularly good taste or an understanding of what was actually going to be read and could be reprinted and could be.
Well, yeah, but Ted, you're
Well,
also talking,
reprinted is not.
yeah, like none of this stuff was being reprinted.
No,
Like,
not yet.
I mean, like,
I
yeah,
mean, that's another
like,
massive oversight that like I mean, and again, I mean, yes, it wasn't happening, but like comic strips were, so it's not like there was nobody with the idea that there was.
but I think that you're taking, look, bluntly, I think that you're taking the world that we live in now and applying it to a world that was then, right? Like, this was disposable entertainment, right?
Absolutely.
Now,
Uh,
like, and that when you talk about the newspaper strips, that was a whole different world. Like, it was an entirely different world, and everyone talks about that. That's why all of these comic book guys really wanted a newspaper strip, right? Because,
I absolutely understand both of those things, and what I'm saying is it's evidence that throughout time the money has been short on vision.
uh, yeah, that's fair enough to say. But what I'm saying is that if like the if no one thinks if everybody thinks we're going to print this pamphlet this month, and it might stay on the newsstand for 2 months or whatever, and then it's going to get pulled off, and they're going to rip the cover off, and they're going to send it back, and we're going to pay them for the on
Mhm.
because that was the newsstand market,
I mean,
right?
again, like
But
the
well, all I'm saying is no one thought there was anything more,
no,
right?
well, that's not entirely true because Bill Gaines started doing collections of Mad pretty quickly.
But
Um,
Mad was also a magazine. It was a
well, but it
different,
didn't.
like,
It was only a magazine because the other comic companies who were
Because
on their way out of business forced it to become one. What
sure.
I'm saying is it's yes, it would have taken somebody who was at least mildly visionary, but I don't think that there was not enough evidence that it was possible there for Martin Goodman to have made Marvel a powerhouse rather than sending it into multiple rounds of bankruptcy before Disney bought it.
Well, multiple rounds of bankruptcy also happened well after Martin Goodman gave up the company.
I
But I mean, like,
understand.
look, there was there was
I would slam. I mean, like,
all I'm
and
saying.
again, none of this has a ton to do with Kirby, so it's not a huge point. It's not a huge point. I'm not saying that Kirby should have fought the battle to make the money be smarter about the money. I'm saying that it's a shame how much it in a capitalistic society when there's an imbalance of power, the money often also lacks vision.
Well, yeah, but but what I'm saying, Ted, is that in a lot of ways, because these were disposable entertainment, it also meant, oh, who gives a shit? Just put it out, right? So that if somebody wanted to sneak stuff in, they could, right?
That's true.
And we see it all through history. And the thing is, that's just as true as anything else. But the fact of the matter is like when you talk about a capitalistic society, if like it wasn't until somebody did something and it sold, because like they were reprinting things occasionally, like there's all sorts of things where there's like war books at DC where they're reprinting various things, along with new material. There's Marvel Tales started fairly early in the Marvel thing to where they
Right.
were just reprinting stuff. But I
They put
mean,
backups.
yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is that that it wasn't until this fandom thing erupted that there seemed to be this hunger to like, oh, I'd like to have a nicely bound version of this. Like really, you don't see that until Origins of Marvel Comics.
Hmm.
And that proved that there was a market for it. But that was also in the mid 70s when you had also already had this explosion of a fandom culture, right?
And it still took them 20 more years before they started really collecting things, which, I mean, again, it was all really just a dream of an alternate history where somebody had slightly more foresight about the staying power of comics because probably would have made Jack Kirby more money, and it also would have made us be able to read more truly great Jack Kirby comics. That's all I'm saying. I understand the reasons against it. Money doesn't want to gamble. And there wasn't evidence. There were a million reasons that they could come up with for why it wouldn't work, and not a lot of reasons why they could come up with for why it would.
Well, I mean, but that's the history of like that's business. I mean, like
I know.
but I mean, like, look, there's not every Walt Disney has a Roy O. Disney who's like, just let him cook and I'll figure out how to pay for it, right?
Well, but
And
also not every Walt Disney has a market where there is enough real competition that there is. I mean, even if you look at Disney, they take less risks the bigger they become. When you
that's not
actually
what
have,
I'm, Tad, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking
okay,
about now. I'm talking about like in the 1950s. I'm talking about in the
I am
1940s
too.
when the company is on financially shaky ground and Walt says, I want to build an amusement park.
Right.
And Roy Disney is like, we're going to go bankrupt doing this, but I'll figure it out for you because I believe in your vision. That's like, I think that you keep Like this
But
conversation keeps going towards what a conglomerate is now, as opposed
no,
to
no,
what I'm talking
but
about.
Mark, what I'm saying is that kind of risk is easier to take when you're not trying to compete with a conglomerate, which they weren't at the time.
Sure.
That's what I was saying.
But they're all conglomerates now, right? And
Right.
now, and they're all responding to exactly what they're responding to
Right.
exactly what their audience is telling them they
But this
want.
is also what I was saying about Goodman. Comics might not have had conglomerates, but publishing already did. And Goodman thought of himself more as a publisher than a comic book publisher.
Sure.
So he did not have incentives to take risks. That's all I was saying.
No. But I mean, like Goodman's also not a great example because Goodman was a unrepentant bandwagoner, you know?
Well,
If it worked for
absolutely.
them, we'll do our own version of it. But look, man,
But I don't know who
look,
ran DC at the time.
Bill Bill Gaines Bill Gaines is probably your best example because he had a vision of doing something that was better and doing something that reached out into it. Sean sneezing because he's like fucking shut up. But I mean, like Bill Gaines had a vision to try to reach out to a larger audience, had a vision that this was more than just disposable entertainment. And it was a small vision, but it was a vision, right? And the thing is that a whole load of shit that happened culturally and business wise conspired to hamstring what he was doing. Because look, like we can talk about how the Comics Code is set up to crush EC, which is absolutely true as far as I'm concerned. But it also was responding to a very real feeling within the audience, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is like all of this stuff always comes back to the audience. If the if the audience wrote in and this is the thing, Stan was listening to people. So when they were like, you know what, I missed all those early Fantastic Four issues. It'd be great if you could reprint them. So Stan was like, hey, we'll do a thing called Marvel Tales, and we'll put out reprints of those books so that people can read them, you know? And the thing is like that A, the audience was changing, and that the that and that they were actually writing letters that weren't just like, you know, we're like kids writing in saying that I love Casper the Ghost or whatever. They were actually like what he's talking about is true, even though he's also making it up on some levels. But all I'm saying is that I think that there is a very real there's this cultural desire to look at things that were then as things are now and say that all things are equal, which they're not. And that when you're talking about, like and I've said it in this podcast, we can look at Kirby's books. This is 1971, 72, 73, right? Like these books are coming out after uh, um, O'Neill and Adams put out the Hard Traveling Heroes thing in Green Lantern and Green Arrow, right? And that was where the industry was heading. And Kirby is doing this stuff, which feels like it doesn't understand that, right? And that's we can look at it now and be like, oh, I see all the stuff that he's trying to do, but that in that moment, it was not the right moment for it, right? Um, I'm going way off topic now. So anyway,
My
hey,
only comment at all is I try more to look at decisions were made in the past to see how they form where we're at rather than trying to project where we're at onto the past. Again, I understand the whys of this, but I also understand how some of that led to where we are now, and in both good and bad ways. Because again, the great comics showed through, which means we get more of them. It just took
Sure.
time for people to decide to make more of them because it took time to go, oh, wait, all of these were disposable, but that one wasn't.
Well, I mean, it's why Will Eisner is able to do much more interesting stuff in the spirit than
Hmm.
he would have if that book had been on the newsstands, right?
Yeah. I mean, it
Because,
was on the newsstands. It was just in newspapers on the newsstands.
Right.
well, but it was also coming into your home with your
Right.
Sunday paper,
Right.
right? So, like, he wasn't subject to returns. He wasn't subject to like a newspaper vendor couldn't tear off the cover of a spirit and send it back and get money back for it, right?
Right.
But
Or worse later on where they did affidavits and somehow they
oh yeah.
regularly had more returned than they sold.
I mean, yeah,
But the
look,
newsstands were mobbed up so that they weren't going to argue.
sure. Right. Right. All right.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
a good day.
yeah. Yeah. But we
We've
have
solved
more Kirby to
everything
talk
now.
about.
Everything's
Yeah.
mobbed up, you know. I mean, hell, half the comic book publishers were mobbed up too. So I mean, like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
uh anyway. So I want to know what Sean's when we before we started, Sean said, I want to talk about the total bullshit of it, but issue 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, to me, this whole uh, arc, but it's a new direction for the book, starting
Yeah,
with issue 12, right?
right.
And so it was a big change for me reading it because I kept waiting uh, in the back of my head for how does Mistovac, tie into the fourth world? And I was like, wait, he's not going to tie into the fourth world. This is Earthbound technology. Um, so that for me took some uh just rethinking in my head, to get to accept it. Um, and there are a couple of references to where Barta and I started, etc. Um, I'm not sure what purpose Ted Brown serves in the
Ted
book.
Brown.
It feels like to me, it's like you either need Ted or you need Oberon. I don't need both of those characters.
Right.
Um, but I did think it's interesting, that he put Ted in the Korean War, so I guess trying to young him up a little uh, from where Jack was. Um,
Well, I think that there's clearly some okay, well, first of all, we know the fourth world is quote unquote dead, right?
right,
They killed it. So now I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that there is a certain amount of freedom that comes with not having to tie into that allows him to be like, okay, it's just a superhero book now. Um, but then you realize after a few issues, you're like, oh, wait, the real uniqueness of this book was the tie into the fourth world.
right,
Because like the whole deal, like we've discussed this several times too, like this whole super escape artist thing is great, except we never really it's always this Deus Ex Machina thing,
and
like,
that
oh,
continues.
yeah, like,
Yes.
oh,
It's all Batman's utility belt. His
yeah,
entire suit is the utility belt.
right. And you don't really like it's weird because it doesn't feel earned.
Yeah, the evil eyes issue where he suddenly had this ability to send out these waves from his suit to
Right.
find not only find the person he was looking for, but then influence their decisions and thoughts and speech from afar. It's like I feel like this is a power that we would have heard about before now.
Yeah.
We just discovered this one? That's kind of weird.
Well,
Well,
re
yeah,
I realize I kind of misspoke when I talked about Mistovac being Earthbound technology because, of course, he's an alien trapped in a little dome. Reminded me of Dalek, really.
yeah,
Um, and I think it's a very golden age or a Jack thing to do to have that creature just get killed, you know. Whereas I was like, these people have been imprisoning him for thousands of years, and we're just going to kill him off,
right.
right? I thought it
Because
was
he's the problem.
right. He's obviously the problem, not the people who've been abusing him for millennia,
Yeah,
right? Uh, but I think I probably put more thought into that than Jack did when he was
probably.
drawing it that day. He was like, "Well, I got to get rid of this guy, and
Yeah,
these kids aren't going to care." But I mean, I do think that had this book come out now, you would have, Mistovac would have either still been evil and had a second career
right.
being evil on his own, or would have thanked Mr. Miracle profusely and dedicated his life to righting the wrongs that he
Right.
committed.
Well, it is one of those things. It's like Jack seems, and this may be a holdover from the Marvel thing. Is he seems pretty intent on getting rid of anything that he creates new, right? Like, oh no, you're not going to use it again because it's gone. It's gone,
The
And
Chester
it's like,
Gould in him
yeah, that's right. But I
killed
mean,
everyone off.
it's also comics. So, I mean, like, they're going to bring it back. Like, I don't know. I think it just feels so like I've talked about it before how these books feel very golden agey. And I think now it feels even more so. And I don't know, because yeah, it is real narrative whiplash where you're like, what happened to all of this? Every once in a while they'll mention Dark Side or, you know, I don't know.
But speaking of Tad, you had brought up, your panel, and I had marked a panel in that same book, issue 13. It's the first panel, the second panel on page 3, where I was looking at it, and this is the first time. So I read these on a Kindle, uh, as opposed to reading in my big omnibus,
Right.
just to kind of see how it worked. And that panel of the train just about to strike Scott. If I were Roy Lichtenstein, that'd be that'd be my
Yeah, yeah.
panel to copy.
Yep.
I just think that is quintessential Kirby. You've got the crackle, you've got impact, and it's great. I just wish that I had seen how Mr. Miracle gets away from that
Yeah.
train. You know, uh,
It yeah.
but I mean, I've talked about it last month, and it continues, throughout this, even with Barda, you know,
I
you
mean, we
see Barda,
saw he just stood up on the other side of it after it crushed everything.
right? I just, and I think Mark, maybe you have said that, had Jack, passed this off to Steranko or someone, Steranko could have, shown some of those escapes,
Well,
uh,
it's
or like Ditko. Like I'm thinking back of its Spider-Man. It's being pressed under the weight. 34 or
yes.
that's such a fantastic sequence, and it is Spider-Man under stress, having to escape, having to press this huge weight up, and to
and we see
see
every
Mr.
moment of it.
Miracle have to face something like that, I think it would be amazing. Um,
Well, it just struck me that what I think, Jack is obviously trying to build tension, you know. It is, I do
he
think,
does build the tension,
sure, it's
but then
gone.
this Deus Ex Machina.
But it's funny how like modern storytelling would tell you that that should come at the end of the page. So then you have to turn the page.
Right.
Um, but the other thing is like the way to keep that is that, oh my God, Scott, how did you escape? And then have Scott like actually show us how Scott escaped,
Right.
not like because like and look, Kirby not a detail guy. He's never been a detail guy. I don't think he cares about the details because I remember there was the one thing where it was like it was several issues back, but it was like the killer car wash thing where he got locked in the like sarcophagus deal that went through the deal, it was like flames and everything, and it turned out that he had lasers on the bottom of his shoe that cut the floor and he dropped through. And you're like, okay, but you never see it. He just says, "Oh, I had laser cutters on the bottom of my boots." And it's like, okay, well that's kind of a wet fart, isn't it? But I mean, yeah, I like it's such a great gimmick, right? The super escape artist thing is such a great gimmick. Like it is such a great gimmick. And I never like for all the great things that Jack does, I don't ever feel like he really uses that gimmick to its fullest potential. And that's great. You guys have a great day.
So, what
I really want to hear because you sounded mad about issue
well, yeah, I
15.
was very disappointed in this. So at the end of issue 14, we get without his mask, we can all recognize Mr. Miracle as scot-free. But who is the real Big Barda? Hey, man, I'm gonna, we're gonna, are we going back to the fourth world? Are we going
Yeah.
back to apocalypse? What's happening in this next issue? Okay, it's the new young superhero. All right, it's about Shiloh. Well, it opens on Big Barda, and then she's doing stuff, but no, 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 no. Where am I going to find out about the real Big Barda? Chapter 3, I still haven't found the real Big Barda. Chapter 4 is titled The Real Big Barda. Okay, where where in this do I find the real Big Barda? Uh, is it the fact that she says that she couldn't let Scott die? Is that the real Big Barda? What part of this am I missing?
I'm guessing,
Did Carmine say you're not going back to Apocalypse? We're not telling the story of the real Big Barda.
or were they working on it and Marquis Veneer was like, Jack, the last issue ended saying you're going to show the real Big Barda. And he's like, oh, I'll throw it in on the last act.
I mean, I was like,
Well,
I mean, look, we've got Mr. Fez, who, you know, clearly, uh, you know, Yaphet Kotto would have played him in the movie,
yes.
but I just felt like I was bait and switched
Well, look, I
because
think as I was reading these, I'm really struck by how every one of these issues is Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, Mr. Miracle and Oberon, Mr. Miracle and Ted Brown. It's like it I think he's clearly looking for something to hook people, you know? And then it's like Shiloh, okay? Because, what golden age thinking is that? Okay, we're kind of struggling sidekick, you
Right.
know? But yeah, I totally agree with you. I will say
I have
to our I
it's
will say go ahead.
well,
Sorry.
I'll share this after. I don't think we need to
I
get
will say
Eric
that
Larson's dirty laundry and
yeah. Um one of like it's not quite as intellectually interesting as the panels you guys were talking about, but the page 2 and 3 double page spread in issue 15 is probably my favorite Kirby artwork ever. If I could, in my wildest dreams, have one, I guess 2 pages of original Kirby artwork, it would be this one. There's something about the giant pair of pliers
right.
that is just so like that's the most Kirby freaking thing I've ever thought,
There's a really good another one that I also picked up on page I think it's 15. Yeah, page 15 in the middle, the wham. And
Yes.
so it's in the middle.
Yes.
That is just a fantastic explosion. Uh,
That is it. That is a great panel that you can draw really fast.
right. But
That's it's like this is that period of Kirby where it does, and this is not me trying to be a jerk, but watching Jack find ways to go faster always cracks me up, you know?
yeah, but
Uh,
I felt that these were enjoyable. I enjoyed all four of them. Uh, the little irritated 15, but it's like it felt different from what we had seen before. Uh,
100%. I think that's the double-edged sword of what I'm talking about. I think that there is sort of he's released from the the uh chains of having to tie into this whole fourth world thing, so it can be a little more free in terms of what he does, but at the same time, it loses the focus of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dad.
Tad's,
Ted had a minor non-Kirby related thing pop up that he's dealing with while trying to be part of the conversation as well.
Oh, okay.
well,
But I mean, I do look. I'm excited for the next issue
I am too.
yeah.
because I'd like to see. I mean, obviously,
Shiloh's actually kind of cool, so I'm looking forward
yeah, exactly.
to seeing more of him. And
And
I
of
do
course,
like the
I
fact
haven't
that
heard of
even,
Shiloh in the intervening 50 years,
well,
so
that's
I
true.
don't know where this
It
goes.
might be that he only has these 2 issues.
Right.
Um, but also, while we didn't actually get to know the real Barda, we have been getting to know more Barda. Like she acknowledged briefly that she has feelings for Scott when he was in danger at one point, and Scott's kind of acknowledged that he has feelings for her, and I mean,
Which
maybe they'll pass each other a note at study hall.
to me, that seemed like a bit of retconning. Uh, I mean, they've been close this entire time.
But they were platonically close, at least maybe.
Really?
Listen,
No,
what are we?
I'd like to
We're
be
in issue
platonically
15.
close.
I'm going to say this. Scott and Barta have been bumping uglies since like issue 10.
What a woman! Words of
Wait a minute.
Oberon.
This is the 50s. Nobody, or no, I mean, it's the
70s.
70s, but it feels like the
70s.
50s. Nobody bumped uglies in Jack Kirby's time. Babies came from cabbage patches and storks.
I'm just saying, look, I think
I
it,
have been
it
to that Cabbage Patch Hospital.
I think that ooh,
Have you ever been there?
I've read about it, yeah. Um
The
I
hills of
think
North Georgia.
this this is one of those things. I think that we talk about the book kind of feels like a golden age book in a lot of ways. Like I've talked about the whole like where the rest of the comics was. There's this whole fandom that's arising that I think is influencing Jack. But it's funny because I think he still thinks he's writing for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's clear.
like I quite honestly, looking at the world of, like I think that is I think that there is a nice middle ground that you can get to between writing for so it's accessible to children and also not insulting to adults, that comics have shifted back and forth across over the decades. But yeah, and I think in a way that may be part of the problem with the whole fourth world enterprise as it is like it seems to want to grapple with these big philosophical issues, but that this idea that Jack's got to sell books to a 10-year-old is always kind of holding him back from it. And now, like, and of course we'll never know what Carmine said to him, really. uh did he say get rid of all this dark side crap and all of that? But you know that can't be entirely what he said, because like, spoilers, it does come back, you know.
Right.
uh, I don't know, but I think that I've said it myself. My favorite post Kirby work is Commandi, although I have not read those books in 15-20 years, so I may be looking at that through rose colored glasses. I'll totally admit that, but
I
I
haven't read it
always
all, but I do love the Commandy Challenge.
Community Challenge is fun, but yeah, like
Yeah.
I was in love with that. But I'm talking about the books
No,
that
I know.
he would have been starting, I think, right now was,
Actually, I thought about that
Yeah.
earlier this week because Fantagraphics sent me advance of the Barry Windsor Smith in the Savage Land book that they've got coming out, and like it's really kind of so many artists of that era started out by being Kirby and then developing their own style. And that's really what you see throughout that volume is that
oh
like
man,
he's perfecting Kirby and then branching out. I mean, his
you can't
Kazar
think
looks so much like Commandy, it's not even funny.
well, like I mean, like you look at Keith Giffen's early stuff, it is Kirby, 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 uh,
Neil Adams.
Alarm.
although I I don't know, I think Neil is way too well trained as an artist to totally be a Kirby clone.
I think
You
he
know,
I think he moved away from it faster. But I think if you look at a lot of his early stuff, I mean, it has more polish than some. Kirby, and that's part of what you love about Kirby.
Right.
Kirby is the way it's sometimes rough around the edges. But he used a lot of Kirby poses. He used a lot of Kirby layouts. I
Sure.
mean, when I talk about being a heavily influenced by Kirby, I'm very rarely talking about just the um
Well, yeah,
character
the well,
design itself.
well, and like it's part and parcel of loving Kirby. Is like Kirby does not give a whit about anatomy or
Right.
or accuracy in that regard. Um, you know, it's also he's also famously, the costume designs tend to shift back and forth, like um that's like I think that Neil Adams training as an illustrator made him so aware of anatomy that it like I've never really thought of Adams like I think everybody, especially everybody that has worked at Marvel, is influenced and
Oh
trained
yeah.
to try to use the Kirby style, but not style, but the Kirby layouts and the Kirby sort of dynamic poses and things like that. But I
Right.
think that when I look at artists who are clearly influenced by Kirby, uh, and I would Adam's definitely influenced by Kirby, but I mean, like I think his handle on anatomy is so much stronger and more ingrained in him that uh, it's hard for me to just see him as sort of a Kirby acolyte. You know what I'm saying? Famously, I remember on Comic Book Men when Neil Adams showed up on that show, they were looking at a print of the Kryptonite Nevermore cover, and Adams would not stop talking about how he hated that drawing because he had to extend one of the legs to get the text in between them. And he's like, it's totally wrong anatomy. And I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, looks pretty good to me. I mean, all right, Neil. But he's like, yeah, that leg's too long, it's too thin, it's probably, I'm like, and then of course, I'm looking at it again. I'm like, yeah, you may be right, but I don't give a shit. I
Right.
mean, and I think that in a way, that's the whole Kirby ethos. Yeah, it might not be accurate, but who gives a shit?
Right.
Anyway,
And the chains bursting.
the chains bursting. But anyway,
Well, I mean, that was the giveaway that Scott was okay, is that like that panel had chains bursting flying out from the train, but you saw no tattered costume, no severed heads or limbs, just
no.
flying chains and rocks. Now I'm curious as to where the rocks came from.
There's
Apparently,
always
it dug
rocks
into the
underneath
ground
the
right before it
railroad
hit him.
track.
Actually,
That there
like
we go. We now know how Scott survived. The rocks came from he went down first and then came up and he tossed up rocks. See, you figured it out. It was there all along, Mark.
I'm going to tell you this right
Landed
now.
on
I
the
have an even
railroad
simpler
track.
answer for you. Every time Scott does an escape, it's a follower. It's one of those
Follower.
bodies that they can project themselves into.
Oh, okay, okay,
Remember,
yeah,
they've been there all along. So every time he's in an escape, it's a follower. The follower gets destroyed, and then Scott steps out and goes, "Hey, I'm the greatest
but that
escape."
doesn't explain the rocks.
Stop being detail minded. Um,
And have you never walked along the railroad track?
Yes, but I've also seen trains go by the railroad tracks and those rocks don't fly up while they're doing it.
well, I've seen that train and it ain't never coming back. Uh,
Uh,
anyway, I
But
should probably wrap
yeah,
up, guys. I've
for
got a
for the fourth World Book Club on 22 panels, this has been Mark Pracht and Sean Harklerode, and we will see you after the next page.